Good evening, and thank you for staying so late. And we are the last of the panels, I guess. I'm Madhusudan Rao, I'm CEO of AICCCMB, and it's my pleasure to host the very accomplished, personnel of whom I know for a long time. And the topic that we have is something on biotechnology breakthroughs, transforming healthcare, energy, and agriculture for sustainable growth. So, as you've been hearing the morning talks, what we know is, looking at the population, as we saw in the previous slide, by 2050, the way we depend on the natural resources, we need another Earth. We need another Earth to support the population by 2050. So, where does the food come from? What kind of opportunities that we have? And also today, if you look around, there are a lot of biotechnology breakthroughs, and we believe that they have it gives a lot of opportunities and ideas to overcome some of these challenges that we are looking at. We should be looking at is, as a humanity, we've been making mistakes and correcting them. Are we making the right choices today to face the challenges of tomorrow? For example, I'll give you one of the pressures on supporting the growing population is food. And then for food generation, should we be expanding the agriculture land, or should we, because that results in occupying the forest areas, which are very important in climate control. So there is a choice whether is that the right choice to expand the agriculture, or should we be looking at increasing the productivity or reducing the waste? So many things are there. There are options that we go for. And as you see in today's, in India, there is a very large emphasis on looking at biotechnology or bio-based processes to solve many of our problems. Whether it is, organism engineering or bioprocesses, converting the technologies from chemical processes to enzymatic processes, there are a lot of opportunities. What I'm going to take the help of our panel is to ask them what is, in their opinion, the so-called biotechnology breakthroughs have a role play in the sustainable growth that we are talking about. So before that, as you know, our Rachna was a former student of CCMB, and then she's become an entrepreneur, and very successful entrepreneur, startup a few years ago, and have done very well. And then we have Mrityunjay Sir, who is a kind of a very popular person in the startup ecosystem, and was completely responsible for the ecosystem we created in Odisha. And I think we have been knowing him for a long time. And Dr. Yogeshwar Rao, who has been with CSR for a long time and has seen so many business development related projects for CSR, and also was the advisor to the PSA. And we have Dr. Akriti Sharma, who is the CEO of Pusa Krishi, was a scientist, and she's been very much interested in making sure the agriculture discoveries that are made in academic institutes are translated to the field. So these are all very important aspects of what we are talking about today on the sustainable growth. So what I plan to do is, I kind of ask each of the panelists to talk about a couple of minutes about their opinion on what is their thinking, and then probably I have one question for each, and then we'll wrap it up. So I'll start with Rachna. Can you, based on your experience, what do you think the impact of biotechnology breakthroughs in sustainable growth, and where do you think one can, should be the emphasis, and so on and so forth?
In this fast changing environment where we have made this environment unpredictable. I remember during our childhood it was said that when the rain comes, when the summer comes, when the winter comes. Now we don't know when what comes. When the flood comes, when the hurricane comes, that's what is all around. And we have to live with it right now, until unless we take some strict measures. I belong to healthcare, and we developed different diagnostic tests. What I have seen that we used to think initially 5 to 10 infections, if you have assays for that, you are covering majority of diseases and it's done. Today, we make a panel of 50 organisms to test respiratory disease, a panel of 30 organisms to test the fever, and next day I come to know that no, it is not sufficient. One more should be added, two more should be added. So yes, we are working on a fast pace. We have to, as the doctor said before this talk, that we have to work on fast pace. We have the microorganisms are much smaller and much faster in evolution. So to deal with them, to tackle them, I think biotechnology and healthcare, especially biotechnology, is going to play a very strong role to have, to give us strength to tackle with these all unpredictable situations and unpredictable infections.
Thank you, Rachna, on that. This is for Mrutyunjay, and you have seen you were a scientist to begin with, and then you became a kind of supporter of startups and things like that.
Yeah, good. Thank you. I think for the interest, I know the maximum the crowd is from incubation fraternity. I think they're incubation leadership. So like some of you, I'm also a professor. Still, I'm a professor. But this is a very interesting area, as Professor Rao mentioned about the breakthroughs. My message to all of you, I always bring positivity. That always breakthrough never happens in metros. It also comes in other cities. So do not underestimate yourself. I'll give you a couple of examples. Like I come from Bhubaneswar. When I went to, let's say, Aghu sir, Garu or H.K. Mittal sir, of course they supported us, but always they had expectation the innovations may not happen, the breakthroughs never happens from such cities. But they supported, and with the kind of path building exercise or the ecosystem exercise, you could build on a very strong incubation ecosystem where a lot of breakthrough happening in the health sector. So I'll give an example, like when company came up, HDX technology, out of the blue, he never talked about AI, but he came to us, we looked at body language, helped them, brought the connect, brought sort of clinicians on board, investment, funding from government on board, and try to connect to a lot of clinicians to do the trial, including the regulatory authorities. You're very surprised, this company, Google, HDX, is growing up and up. One individual, group of individuals, companies, now there are more than 50 employees, and Mankind has put money, Sun Pharma has put money, they exited it, now raising more amount of money. Why I'm saying this, breakthrough never happens, always never happens in metros, it has to also happen. So those who are incubation managers, please think about it. If you build right strategies, breakthrough might happen from your cities, your places, be it Bhatinda or be it from somewhere from Manipur. You never know, somebody is coming to you, and if you really build a path for them, that things will happen. Second example, somebody comes in, let's say I'll talk about two girls comes in, says they want to make organic batteries out of crop residues. We said, come on, this is not possible. Because how can you make it? Now, it'd be very surprising, this twin sister creating this company called Nexus Power, awarded everywhere now, and raised 2 rounds of money, really making batteries out of crop residues. And these are unheard examples which are coming out of Bhubaneswar. And I want to share with you because if you really build a right sort of ecosystem with right mentors, right kind of enablers, that's what you could build here. Vijay Rao ji in our board, and also Mittal sir comes there. Everyone, I think it's a very close ecosystem where we talk to each other and try to take help from each other. So that's the message. Breakthroughs are happening all across the country. It's not about only confined to Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune, and Delhi anymore. So please build your ecosystem so strong, breakthroughs will come from you. And we'll have more examples like this coming from all of you. Thank you so much.
I have one more thing from Vijay. That is the so-called technologies that we are hoping that they would develop in terms of replacing chemical processes with bio-based processes. What, in your opinion, is the cycle time for something to mature and actually contribute and make an impact to the problem that we started with, to address that problem? And are we okay with that? Like, as you know, life cycle of a life science startup or a product will take, say, several years. So do you think this approach that we are following, especially biotechnology-based solutions, would they reach at the right time so that the so-called sustainable growth is actually addressed? What do you think in your opinion?
Very good. I think morning you have heard very powerful talk from Krishna Allaji, who said when he came, a lot of problems, he didn't understand, he went to different people, and also made him, see, he learned a lot of things very quickly. And still the problem exists regulatory or a lot of this time period to go from TRL 6 to 7 to 8. It only exists everywhere. It exists in every, other countries. Now what is, he's asking a question, I think it's very of a philosophical question at the moment, but I can only tell you that yes, looking at the new policies coming, the government is pushing like a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of incubators coming forward, incubators leadership coming forward, enablers pushing these manufacturing practices, the Bio3 policy coming in, the lot of infrastructure is built up, and also you heard from Praveen Roy ji and then our MD Bairak, Jitendra Kumar ji, who talks about how do we also help through CDSCO, bringing them on board, helping startups to understand or bring a clarity, not to go to other consultants who confuse you. So if I look at the whole ecosystem now being developed in India, and we come as a enabler for startups coming in forward, government comes in putting a lot of resources, I could feel that the time period could be shortened, but there is always a definite time period. So you have to understand, don't think it is going to take like an IT kind of job boom at the moment, but the timings are important. If you talk to Rachna ji or Cecil sitting here, it takes time, regulatory times, validations, trial, you have to go to government laboratories, they have their own agenda, means they have their own setup. So you have to understand it takes time. However, having said that, the way we are now pushing, creating the path for our manufacturing capabilities of India, I could see a bright future where you can think of, yes, many places we can shorten down the time, and government also understand, regulatory people also understand. Now we are creating a lot of capacity on regulatory compliances. There are many enablers coming in forward. So this is a plus point, and personally as an enabler from Odisha, Bhubaneswar, I could see a lot of things that are happening in our side. And of course, Hyderabad is doing quite good, and many of you are doing quite good job. India will have a bright future in biomanufacturing. That's what the new policy also talks about. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrityunjay. That's kind of addresses the problem that we are facing. This is for Dr. Akriti. Today, this is one of the most important, the top of the list is the food for the growing population. So there is so much of opportunities here. How can you, if you look at the productivity of various crops and across the world, there is a huge difference. So that is something, is that the way to go about increasing the food production, or should we be increasing the agriculture area, is one kind of a solution. And the other one is, how do you look at waste to wealth kind of issues, because people talk about biofuels and taking biofuels from agriculture waste and things like that. But again, there's always issues against them also. So I thought I'll like to hear your opinion on the role of breakthroughs in agriculture technology in addressing the sustainable growth.
Thank you so very much for the opportunity. First, I would like to thank ISBA. We are the youngest member of ISBA now, and we have recently done an MOU with them, and there are very new faces over here. So IRI is basically, as you have mentioned, that we are dealing with tech transfer as well. And of course, we cannot increase the area of agriculture. Rather, we have various tools, including the vertical farming and hydroponics and various other tools in which we can do that in the closed spaces. But still, that is something which is very limited. And we have to just see about the productivity rise that we can think of through the sustainable mechanisms, rather than, getting into, again, the same kind of vicious cycle of making the soil really unfertile and getting into the, so I'm sitting in IICT and I'm talking against chemicals. So chemical fertilizers, of course. So for that matter, of course, this tech transfer is one part and the tech dissemination is another part. So what we are dealing with is whatever varieties through genetic engineering that we are developing, or through crossbreeding, or multiple other new breeding techniques, I would just name like in a single word, I would say. We are trying to disseminate those technologies through PPP, in which we are like every incubator must be having associated tech transfer wing, of course, within the institutions. But we have a little different kind of a structure where we are dealing with the non-exclusive licensing, because we are majorly dealing with the products or the technologies which are related to farmers. So we want them to reach to farmers at the bare minimum price and in the quickest and widest possible manner. So we are not even doing the valuation for our technologies. We are keeping it because we are a public funded institution. We got our funding for research from public, and we are keeping it bare minimum, and we are trying to give it to many SMEs actually who are there operating in that particular space, specifically like basmati. So we have various varieties covering more than 90% of the basmati area of the country from IRI. So like that, biofertilizers, then we have decomposers specifically to take care of that waste to wealth problem. So decomposition, so there are like in situ and ex situ practices, we know about that. Calorific value of specifically the rice stubble is very low as compared to other biofuels. So that is something which is a challenge that our startups are facing. But then they are taking various other measures also to take care of that rice residue. Many are getting into making the silage from that. Many are getting into making some kind of secondary packaging material from that, or some are taking care of that through decomposition on the fields.
Okay.
So that is something which is getting done. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is for Dr. Yogeshwar Rao. Yogeshwar has a very, very long experience being a scientist, but also as a business manager at CSIR. So I would like to hear your comment. Having seen the system for a long time, what kind of structural changes or organizational changes that you think are relevant to achieve these kind of breakthroughs to be realized and have an impact on on the sustainability?
First of all, I feel the breakthrough word itself is a little uncomfortable. I think in this particular area of biotechnology, which has got a long gestation period, and you would find that it's difficult to achieve breakthroughs day in and out. You require a long time. So you will find it very difficult for the breakthroughs. Yes, you can bring out some good and promising technologies, but breakthroughs are not going to happen every day. For breakthroughs won't happen in vacuum. You have to plan and you have to sustain them for long periods. Unfortunately, I see within this government or generally in the government and R&D setups, we don't sustain any activity for long. Much before it gives you the results, we exit from that particular area, and then we realize after some time that they say, oh, we should have done long time back this. We have done something and we left it. I'll give you one example. If many of you people may be knowing NPL, National Physical Laboratory. They were one of the pioneers very early in 1950s, 60s, they started the photovoltaics. They were the first people to do the solar energy, solar kind of a thing. But then somewhere around 60s or early 70s, they left the field.
Oh.
Totally they left the field. Now when actually the solar energy become very critical and become very important, they are not there. And this is what happens in many of the areas, that you would find that the sustaining that particular area becomes very, very critical. See, morning actually what, for example, Krishna Ella has mentioned, China, how did it go? They have chosen 5 areas and they've invested a good amount of money over a long period to achieve certain amount of success in that particular thing. Maybe you can call some breakthroughs or some promising technologies from that. I think we are not planning that. I looked at the BioE3, lot of people talk about BioE3. If there are some DBT people, please excuse me for this thing. It is like, if you see that BioE3 policy, which I have gone through, it has got everything under the DBT, what is doing is put under BioE3. And you would find that it lacks focus. There is no focus. If you say, I'm going to say this area, then you would have got something to really proud of, or developing something in the future. No, everything under the sun, you put it under that particular thing, it can't be any more, Anyway, it is a cabinet note, so you have to give the credit whatever, and
it's more like an intent of the department.
See, but that lacking the focus, So you want to spend 1,500 crores for what?
Yeah.
So the same thing, for example, morning Krishna was mentioning, if suppose your startup is there and they want to do GMP material, where are the facilities in India, GMP facilities? We don't have, maybe available with the industry, but they are not available for the startups.
Startups. Yes.
Now, how do we do? NBM, when they did the National Biopharma Mission, where they have spent a lot of money in creating these facilities, again they created in the industry. Not in the general, where it could be accessed by the startups. So this is where the problem. Somewhere we start with good intention, but somewhere we divert from that particular thing and get into something else. Actually, this brings me to another point, that I think I'm a little concerned about that particular thing. This I express because a lot of you people are managers here. So we have a lot of role to play in that particular thing. The concern is like this. When you want to do something, we looking in the biotechnology space, I have looked at a lot of technologies that have been in various incubation centers and other things. They are all low-hanging fruits. Basically, we are taking the low-hanging fruits and trying to do the things which is not available in the country, but somewhere elsewhere available, which simply develop the technology and then try to put. This is what I call is that the syndrome of APA syndrome, that active pharmaceutical ingredients, APA syndrome. That they have done, they never did any novel research, they never did any discoveries. They always copied what is available somewhere and then introduced in the Indian market. I think we are getting into the same syndrome even the biotech also. When they did 30, 40 years or 50 years back, that time perhaps it is apt for that particular industry. But it is no more this thing. Because in biotech industry, we have matured to a good extent. I think we should look at technologies that may give you a breakthrough or at least give you a good promising technologies, which we are not looking at it. I think these are so I would request many of you people to encourage those technologies which are novel and which are, I would say first of its kind. You should encourage. How you encourage and other thing you should look at from your own planning system and other thing. And if you can do, that will make a lot of good.
Thank you.
This is my real concern in the sense when I look at, even for example, medical devices, lot of applications used to be for medical devices. And these medical devices also you will find quite a few of them are already exist in the market. And those things that they will try to do, if somebody was trying to do a blood pressure monitor, he will add one more parameter to that and try to develop another medical device for that. I mean, this is same thing is happening. And another interesting feature is that you would find that similar kind of thing, there may be at least a dozen companies will be doing within the country. And I don't know. Ultimately, who will succeed and who will survive, I don't know. But this is a point that one need to really carefully look at.
I think people look for access and affordability. When something costs you around $5,000 and the local
ultimately you are going to cut price. Ultimately you are going to cut each other. And you will come to a stage where, you won't even make the cost of the money also, you will not be able to.
Like that's what the Shanta Biotech story, where it used to be several thousand.
That's we all know
local production has brought down. And it became more accessible for everybody. So that's the benefit.
The manufacturer didn't make much money.
Yes.
Initially made, subsequently
So the last question for each of the panel, I think they can quickly give an answer on their own, is we take really pride being the fifth country in terms of GDP and all these things. But at the same time, there is a very serious issue of equity, right? Whether financial or health equity. So what should be done, in your opinion, very quickly in a couple of sentences? I start with Rachna.
I think we need to strengthen our overall societal system, be more open to the people who want to do something. As the sir mentioned, that when you are making API and there is a short-term benefit, immediately the people are ready to invest in you. You get people to work, but when it comes to the innovation, when it comes to achieving your long-term goal, for short-term things, lot of funds are available, people are available, but when it comes to the long-term goal, when you really want to do something, you want to create a good product, which requires time, money, and patience, overall society is not supportive.
Okay.
It's like nobody, we all of us talk, but when it really comes to doing, there is no support.
Mrityunjay?
I completely agree, but a couple of things here. Because since last 17 years, I am in this business of incubation, being a professor, and of course, also that in Bhubaneswar, Odisha, I realized if you do good, we have to all come together. So collaborations, cooperation, convergence is missing in our ecosystem. We are all doing things in isolation, be it government with incubator, because you bring policies and then you say we want to support startup, but when the startup goes there, you don't get it. So the single window clearance, I don't know where the window is, but we don't get clearance. People are all going pillar to pillar. Now I'm not commenting everyone, but only I'm saying if all of us we come together, talk to or not bring awareness to the bureaucracy, the politicians, and bring the right kind of policy, not just to have being a project document, but to implement, that needs more strategic of collaborations, cooperation, convergence. If that is happening in our country, I think we can do wonders.
Yeah.
And that is totally missing. We have examples like he mentioned about breakthroughs not happening. I'll give an example where a lady, Nusrat Sangamitra, you can Google it, created the most inventive company coming out of India, making a protein which folds, unfolds, getting into liver, drills into liver cells. It looks like fantasy, right? Gets into liver cells, release the drug molecule. Pfizer, Novartis, everybody is watching her. She is very early stage of TRL. It takes a lot of time. The committee said it is not going to happen. And it was rejected. But somehow we managed to make it happen. Got some funding. Now everybody is putting money there. It needs people to understand. It needs so the Novartis will understand, Pfizer will understand. But somehow our ecosystem doesn't understand much. It takes a lot of time. If it happens, everybody is going to use their technology for therapeutics. So that's what the whole idea, we have to come together for collaborations, cooperation, and convergence. Thank you so much. I have to catch flight, so I have to fly.
So the point which he was saying is that I agree with her totally, and what my colleague Mrityunjay said also I agree. Actually, if you find that the startups find it very difficult to get funding during the growth phase. When in the first 2 years you will get some sort of a funding from either BIRAC or XYZ, this thing, initially some of these things, what I call is early stage funding you get. But when it comes to really you have to start, when you require larger funds, there is no scheme that exists. There is no scheme which can support you something like 2 crores, 3 crore rupees or something. Venture fellows won't come there because they feel it is a long way to go. As Krishna said in the morning, there is no predictability that your phase 1 clinical studies will get cleared or your preclinical studies will get cleared or not, you don't know. So no investor is going to come and invest the money into that particular thing. So what we require is really a scheme that would help the biotech industry during the growth phase. That's what I would call is that maybe 2.5 years or 3 years to 5-6 years. That is what is required in that period. The second thing is that quite often you will find that if you take a product development in the biotechnology area, it will go through different phases. If it is a health product, you would find initial product development, preclinical studies, clinical studies, then product launching, all those things close. And you can't expect a particular initial founders or initial researchers who enters into this to have all these experience from one spectrum to the other end of this thing. So what we need to encourage in this country is mergers and acquisitions. And this is how in the West has been really, grown much faster in mergers and acquisitions. So you develop a product, give it to somebody, you make your money, that fellow will add further knowledge to it and he will sell it to someone else. Like that it will change 3-4 hands before the product gets into the market.
Yeah.
I think that is what we need to encourage, and maybe ISBA can take a lead for in the next conference, where they try to see whether they can have something like mergers and acquisitions. Project a dozen technologies who would be ready to
merge. Thank you, sir.
Next, to move to the next stage. I think that is something that they should do. And that's what is going to help the biotech industry greatly.
Thank you. Akriti, you have a...
So
Nothing much different from what the other speakers have said. Rather, specifically putting the perspective of agriculture, that of course the gestation period for the products which are coming from agri-biotech, that too is long. But there are funding facilities available for the funding of 2 crores or 3 crores, like this accelerator fund of the NFW, which is coming in of 500 CR. But what is the challenge with that is that we need to sensitize the evaluators or the people who are going to select the startup with those eyes, who could actually evaluate what the innovation is and who could actually think about and understand that, okay, now this kind of a thing would take at least 6 to 7 years or 10 years. So people need quick returns, people need quick impact even from the government. They say tomorrow you should have a farmer's impact. So that kind of mindset has to be changed from the government's perspective.
It looks like the risk appetite is less in Indian ethos, I guess. So I think we need to, and probably all of us acknowledge the advantages of the West that has invested heavily even before a good idea comes up. They don't mind failures. So the risk aversion is something that we keep talking about. I think the things have changed. As an incubator last 6-7 years, last couple of years I've seen there is a lot of interest among the investors to look at biotechnology startups and then don't mind wait for a few years before they mature. So they're not still investing in discovery, but at least they're investing in those technologies at TRL 3 or 4. And with that, I'll thank each one of you for being here and then sparing time for this conference. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.